This video is an overview for the series I'm calling Improving Your Gaming. In this video, I'm going to discuss the categorization of areas of importance to improve in your gameplay. But before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about the difference between passively improving your gameplay and actively learning. Now, when we start gaming, it comes from a very recreational standpoint. It's something that we enjoy doing, and we don't really think about running, say, drills or practice in order to improve the fundamentals of our gaming passion. Now, you compare this to, say, like learning the piano. Learning the piano, it might be something that you start playing, but you quickly realize you usually need some additional support in order to improve yourself and get to the point where you play the music that you like playing. Similarly, I think we can look at getting better at video games in a very similar fashion. When you come to the realization that you want to improve your gameplay, you need to start looking at actively learning the very fundamentals of gameplay in order to get better. And hopefully, if you're watching this video, this is the point that you are at. Of course, there are different levels between actively learning and passively improving. You may not want to do necessarily everything as intense as some people might, like track their progress in a spreadsheet and that kind of thing. And that kind of self-realization is important between managing your own motivation and trying to be very good about self-evaluation. That said, if you want to improve fast, you really need to take all these additional steps in order to actively learn what you have been doing wrong, what you are doing right, and improve yourself at the highest rate possible.
Yeah, come on, res grenade.
The fact that you are here and watching this video and hopefully still listening to me at this point shows that you have higher motivation than the majority of players about improving your gameplay. In order to start this series, I really wanted to categorize the areas of importance to your gameplay that you need to be thinking about. And there's sort of one area of category that I'm going to start with that is sort of fundamental, that once you get it sorted, it has less to do with your skill after that point. It's sort of like a barrier to entry. And that is your setup. This means making sure you have a computer that can run games, obviously, but, making sure that your DPI and sensitivities are, in good ranges for the games that you're playing, that you have consistent frame rates in your games and the settings that can help you get there, that your ergonomic position, so like your seat, your monitor spacing, all those things are in a pretty good location. Stuff like this. This is a sort of this is a setup kind of an issue that you need to make sure you have sorted and is consistent when you play. Otherwise, you sort of have to adjust your muscle memory. And I'll get into those kinds of details in these videos. So I mentioned muscle memory. Muscle memory actually falls under our second category, which is skills. Often called mechanics by a lot of people, skills are very much what we think about when we think about improving our gameplay. It is our aim, it is our movement. These skills are actually the same things that we will be talking about practice for, drills for, and it is something that is very comparable to our soccer or piano analogy, which is when you say in piano you learn chord shapes, you learn your arpeggios and scales. In FPS games, right, you learn how to hit your shots, you learn how to get those headshots, you learn to 80-80 strafe or control your recoil in certain games. All of these are fundamental skills that you need to practice if you want to improve. And getting into how best to look at these skills and drills will be the focus on videos with the skill category. So the next category is a very broad category. It's knowledge. Knowledge is a very broad category because it can be, related to, say, playing on a team and knowledge about your team members in a sort of micro way, but it can also be knowledge about team dynamics in like how do you push as a team and how do you defend as a team. But then you can even get more micro on top of that. Your knowledge can be very specific. You can talk about character selection and counters, and you can talk about positioning and why you want to choose some characters and what their DPS on certain maps are, and why they're better for those kinds of conditions versus others. In the end, knowledge has a huge range of topics, and it's one of my greater interests, and it is certainly something that we can always improve, and it's often related to the meta of a game. So it's something that's continually changing and will always need review. In terms of self-improvement in that area, there's a lot of stuff that can be sort of transferred between knowledge area into skill area, in that, like, if you think about awareness starts with a knowledge-based understanding, about learning how to become aware of certain sound callouts and transferring that into an automatic reaction. So, you learn, say, like where in Overwatch McCree's high noon callout is called, and when that's an enemy's team, and you learn how to transfer that very quickly into how you should react, and that becomes sort of second nature instead of being a very conceptual, having to think through it kind of nature. So you can see that there's some overlap between particularly skills and knowledge. So the final category is attitude and motivation. It's one I talked a little bit about already in one sense here in this overview video, but it's actually a lot more broad than just that. Obviously, I think there's a lot of people that would say, well, attitude is quote unquote need a positive attitude in order to get better. And I don't want to be so black and white like that. It's actually very much more nuanced, right? It can be talking about your focus within a game and how that can change and why that will change, or your attitude and how that affects those around you, and conversely, how other people's attitudes are affecting you. And learning to be able to evaluate yourself and your emotional self in order to improve your gameplay is a huge step, particularly if you are becoming very consistent in terms of your mechanics and very strong in terms of your knowledge. You need to learn how to also be very strong in terms of your attitude. It's the final category, and it's one that I don't think we should dismiss either. For the series Improving Your Gaming, I use the categories listed here in order to classify each of my videos. Again, these categories are setups, skills, knowledge, and attitude.
Left side, Reaper.
These videos allow for some broader topics applicable to a wide set of games, and at times, some of these videos will also be geared towards very specific games. Now, if you have a concept or a game that you want me to cover, please let me know in the comments below or on the MercGG forums. Now, I know this was just an overview video, but I hope you're excited and motivated to stick with me to improve your gameplay. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.